A summer marked by violence in Indianapolis. Multiple shootings, multiple deaths, including suspected teens killing teens. Now a call for action to stop the violence that has swept the city.
We're dealing with everything on the back end now. So after someone is killed, we're trying to put out the fire when we really need to put it out on the front end.
Today, we're sitting down with Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard for his reaction and the plan to put more officers on the streets. Plus, Indiana Black Expo summer celebration is underway. A look at what you can expect and the plan to keep the event safe. It's all coming up on this edition of Indianapolis This Week.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Rafael Sanchez. There are more than 1,500 sworn Indianapolis Metro Police officers who protect us every day. That number is seeing a boost with at least 100 reassigned officers who will hit the streets as the mayor and the Department of Public Safety roll out a new plan. It comes at a time when Indianapolis is seeing a rise in homicides and teen-on-teen violence. This month, a handful of murders have plagued the area, and 2 of those murders involve teens being killed. One in downtown Indianapolis just after the 4th of July celebrations. Another just days later at an East Side park. Joining us now is Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard, who has served since being elected in 2007, now in his 2nd term, and has spent 23 years serving in the Marine Corps. Mr. Mayor, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Is 100 officers enough, or do we need more?
We always need more. Every city needs more. I mean, it's really the resources that you have, and certainly we make no secret of the fact that we want to keep within the budget that we have. Every city across the nation is struggling with different issues on different subjects, but one of them that is very common, especially in the larger cities, is crime and the number of police that can affect that situation. So 100 is not enough. We're putting a little bit more in there, but that's still not enough either. I mean, there's no magical number, because you can keep adding police officers and keep adding, but it's really a combination of factors that goes into reducing crime, and you just can't look at police by themselves, even though we do want more officers on the street right now, and that's what we're doing.
I saw an internal report that showed that possibly the city could use maybe 500 or 600 officers. Was that internal report accurate? And if so, how do we pay for 600 more officers?
Well, what that's referring to is an old statistic that's been out there quite a while, which is an FBI statistic per 1,000 people or whatever. So, and I understand that. I mean, I started researching that back in 2007, actually. So I know what that number and what they're referring to. But we've got the number of officers that we can afford. And what we did with Trey Riggs and the public safety director and Chief Hite and others have been working on this efficiency team to look at the police allocation. What can we do? And that's how this latest plan came up. They've actually, even though it looks like it's timely based on recent events, the fact is they've been working on this for quite a while now, months on end, and bringing a lot of people together to do this. And this team said we need to move in this direction, which is to take some of these administrative type jobs and put those officers back on the street and put civilians in their place in many instances. And that's why you'll see that 116 here in the next few weeks will be out there. We think another 40 can be added within the next year or so. So that'd be closer to 150 officers that we think are going to get back on the street. And in the meantime, because of the efficiencies that the Public Safety Office is going through experiencing right now, we think we can have 2 recruit classes here in the near future of 50 officers each, or near 50 officers each. And so it's a sustainable plan. I mean, there's always a cry, and this is something that I hope the citizens understand, there's always a cry to more and more and more now. That doesn't necessarily solve it. You have to have something sustainable that the city can afford over the long haul, and that's really what we've been trying to do. And we wanted to give the new public safety director and Chief Hite the time to look at what they think is the best way to put more officers on the street over the long haul and to sustain it.
If we did want 500 new officers, are we talking about a major property tax hike? I mean, if the public said, Mr. Mayor, we want 500 new men and women in blue to hit the streets of Indianapolis, are we talking about that someone would have to pay for that amount?
Someone would have to pay for it. Not much question about that. But as we cited at the press conference this past week when we announced this sustainable plan, 92% of the budget heading into next year is for public safety or criminal justice. 92%. I don't think there's many cities who put that much of their budget toward public safety and criminal justice. So it's a big number. And when we're talking about everything else that we do in the city, when you're talking about metropolitan development and public works and the parks, all these other different agencies that work in the city of Indianapolis, that's 8%.
Let's take a look at some of the crime numbers, Mr. Reddy.
Sure.
Let me just cut you off. Here are the latest crime numbers that we were able to get. As of the end of June, there were 62 criminal homicides, up from 43 at this time last year. That's a 44% increase. That number does not include the homicides we've seen in July. Overall, though, violent crimes, this is key, violent crimes are down nearly 1%, and property crimes across Indianapolis are down 12% for the year to date. So as we look at these numbers from your office, in control or out of control? Do you have a handle on the crime issue in the city?
Well, I'm not sure everybody has a complete control. Again, in any city in America, I don't. But we have to look at where we've come from. Back in 2006, I think the number was 162, a big number, and since 2009, the number has been below 100. Now you have to go back decades, literally decades, to find where this city was below 100 in criminal homicides. And we did it 3 years in a row. And so there was a lot of momentum to keep it underneath there. It doesn't look like we're going to make it this year, but the fact is, when you see the increase, it is based on the much lower number, because if it was based on historical patterns, it would not look like such a high percentage increase, frankly. But all that said, we don't like this. There are some trends that look positive, despite that number, and that number is frightening to me. But when you look at the aggravated assaults, which are down about 14 to 15%, you kind of wonder, how do the homicides up when the aggravated assaults are down so dramatically at the same time? Those are the pieces that the police are putting together. They're certainly analyzing who's doing it, who are the victims, who are the suspects, and trying to put those pieces together to see if there's a particular trend. And all that is happening as we speak, and we may be able to say something about that in the near future. I think I know which way that's trending right now, but those you have to base it on what's gone before, and I hope the public understands that the last 3 years, the previous 3 years, have been the lowest in a long time in this city. And so when you see the spike, we don't like the spike. We thought we'd be able to keep this down where it was and maybe go down even further, and certainly that's what we're trying to do. And I've tasked the police department to come up with different things, and the public safety director and I have been talking to them quite a bit.
In the last 30 seconds of this segment, how concerned are you that this will impact tourism or economic development? Anytime we talk about crime, and now arrests are being made in some of these homicides involving gang members, so the word crime, gang members, gun violence, how much are you concerned that this may impact future convention business? Or any business at all?
Any business, actually, and livability in the city. Absolutely. I mean, it does affect it, because it's not just the crime, sometimes it's the perception of crime. You want to be perceived as a safe city, and so the people will move into the city, people want to visit the city. I hear from visitors all the time. I just heard, very recently, somebody's just visiting, it's clean, nice, friendly. I get all of that pretty much all the time when people visit. We want to be able to say that, and to continue that process for the city of Indianapolis. I think, relatively speaking, I think we are a safe city compared to a lot of cities across the nation, and we will continue to work it. And the last 3 years, like I say, on criminal homicides have been down. All that said, you have to remember, and I haven't been able to say this yet, but we have to understand that it's not just the police. It is a lot of people that have to work together in the community to bring it down. And what Reverend Harrison said before, on tape there, rings true to me, and I talk to him fairly regularly. It's up front. We have to bring people together up front to prevent it. When I became the mayor the first year, I told the police very pointedly, I want you to reduce and prevent violent crime. All this other stuff that you're doing is okay, but you better be focused on reducing and preventing violent crime. And that is their focus. That is what I've told them year after year after year. All that said, if it's just the police, it doesn't work. The community members have to come on board. Some of the activists, the pastors have been terrific in this regard. Businesses, nonprofits have to kind of reach out and make sure this all happens together.
Let's talk more about that after the break, because there are more issues facing Indianapolis. As you know, you are the top CEO, and right now, including that issue of panhandling. The mayor is pushing for a ban, but the proposal hasn't even had a reading yet with the City County Council. The mayor's take on this progress and much more after the break. We're continuing our discussion with the mayor on the issue of crime, Mr. Mayor. Is this an issue of poverty, race, of families not being involved, or community organizations not being involved? Loaded question there, a lot of moving subjects. So poverty, race?
I think there's always a lot of factors involved. You know, when a young man or a young woman grows up and what they see around them, I think influences and how they develop their mindset. And that's the piece I think, you know, we have to, I'd like to think that we're trying to attack this early on, you know, that we can try to change a young man's or a young woman's mind at the right time to say this is not the way to go. And so it's not just, you know, it's not any one particular factor involved. I just don't think it is.
Do we need more jobs in those neighborhoods?
We always need more jobs too, but you know, the jobs are changing. The job market always changes, and some people maybe don't adjust all the time very well. And you know, Olgen's very good about, and my deputy mayor, Olgen Williams, very good about, you know, saying, don't expect this type of job if you only got this skill set. And you know, we as a city are trying to attract so many different types of jobs, but a lot of them are the high-tech jobs, the IT type jobs, and things like that, life sciences, and sometimes the skill set doesn't necessarily match up. So that may be part of it. But I mean, it's always a combination of factors. I never think it's one particular thing.
Another big issue for your office is the issue of panhandling. You're hoping to do something more aggressive with the panhandlers, but the issue has not even shown up yet on the table of the City County Council. Why is that?
Well, you'd have to ask them that. It's a little upsetting to me, because there's no question about that. You know, the people that we talk to in the convention business tell us that we have already lost conventions. We're already losing meetings because of it. There are others that are at risk. I know one particular big one. That is a question that has been asked, and we have to be very careful with this, because you know, the way downtown is built and the way the convention business is built, this is jobs for people in Indianapolis. I'm not sure people realize that panhandling, you know, if it affects the convention coming to town, then the indirect employment that results from that waitress, that concierge, that hotel worker, whoever it may be, now doesn't have that job.
But
I mean, that's how it all works.
But are you afraid of more lawsuits? Because at the end of the day, we find that even panhandlers find lawyers who will say that they have a right, a freedom of speech right to do what they're doing. Some would argue against that. But are you concerned at all that you will expose the city to another round of lawsuits, or are you not worried about that?
What we crafted has been upheld in other cities when it's gone through the court system. So that's why we crafted it the way we crafted it. It's because we think you know, essentially the area, the economic area, has been upheld in other places around the country. So that is, we have to do something more aggressive than what we have been doing. We've made incremental steps. We do this and we do that, and it has an impact for a while, and then they come back, and you know, enforcement maybe is not as strict as we want it to be at times. So we have to put something in place that will keep them off the streets, particularly in the economic areas of the city that draw business in, and because it is hampering. I mean, we just cannot get over that. We cannot say that enough. And again, I want to make sure your audience knows, though, these are not homeless. I mean, these people have shifts. They work the corners. I mean, that's what they do, and then somebody picks them up and they go home into their middle-class home. I mean, that's what most of this is.
So why isn't the opposition? Are they being obstructionist? Or they just don't want to see something get in the way? Why are they not listening to your viewpoint?
That's a really good question. It's easy to say they're playing politics, whether they don't want to have a win. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask them that in particular. But the fact is, I think most people know me pretty well. I'm just trying to do the right thing for the city overall. I'm not trying to put anybody in any trick box or anything like that. We think this is the right thing to do for the city of Indianapolis.
You spoke to the American Legion on Friday. You talked to them about your national security initiative. What did you want them to know about what you're doing? Because you want to have, electric cars by 2025, and next year we're going to be seeing electric vehicles throughout downtown Indianapolis.
We will. Well, I'm doing this on a national security basis, the post-oil technology by 2025, and it's catching on with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and we have other cities that really are trying to help us out with it also because they understand, because we expect to save $12,000 per car over the life cycle of a car, which is pretty significant. We've committed to only buying electric vehicles or plug-in hybrids from here on out to the non-responding cars. For the responding cars, police cars, we want to get one that gets 40 to 50 miles per gallon or is a plug-in hybrid. And for the trucks, we want to eventually convert to natural gas. I mean, all of that, I could tell you stats. I could be here for 20 minutes talking to you about why that is important to national security and how much money we spend to protect oil infrastructure around the world that allows us to send money people to countries that want to do us harm. I mean, I could go into that quite a bit, but essentially, if you can save money while you're helping to protect national security, because frankly, I don't expect anybody at the federal level to move on this anytime soon, and most things start better at the local level anyway in this nation. So we started it off. Other cities are trying to come on board. I spoke to those guys today, a couple days ago at the American Legion, because they understand it. They've been there. I lived in those oil wells, those oil fires for 3 days. I was there. I mean, it was over me for 3 days.
And you have to admit, Mr. Mayor, that you love being around other Marines and other members of the military. You are proud of what you did, and you're proud of your service.
And they understand that, and they want to protect the future troops, too.
Well, you'll have to come back and talk to us more about the National Security Initiative. We have the time and we have the place. Will you come back?
I will. Thank you so much, Raphael.
Thank you so much. We're taking a look at the extra security measures as well being taken to keep everyone safe and sitting downtown with Expo leaders about what you can expect during the Indiana Summer Celebration. That story coming up next. It's going to be a busy downtown as the Indiana Black Expo Summer Celebration kicks off. And joining us today are two of the people who are helping put it all together. We know it takes an army of volunteers and executives to do so, but two great representatives, Tristan Little and Vernon Williams. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The big issue at the forefront is the issue of safety downtown. We've seen some violence before the event even begins. What can people expect? There is a plan. Will the plan work?
The plan will work, and as a point of fact, it has worked the past 2 years before now. We've had nothing but good vibes downtown for the last 2 years, and we expect for that to continue. We know that there's going to be added security measures, there's going to be cameras, there's going to be text messaging for people who want to report what they're seeing, and most importantly of all, the family strong theme of bringing your children downtown will prevail. So that, combined with law enforcement and those supporting in the community, will make it successful.
One of my favorite parts of Expo are the concerts. So what new things will you add or have been added to Expo this year beyond those great concerts?
I tell you, the first thing is 12 and under admitted free.
That's a good thing.
Admitted with an adult.
And that's even better.
We're going to have a bike ride from Lafayette Square downtown, and you're going to see 200 or 300 motorcycles parked out front, and that's going to be a sight to see. Boxing is back for the first time in years. We're going to have a parent engagement conference on Wednesday. That's going to allow parents to come in and find out what they can do to help improve their children's education. So those are just a few of the first. Oh, and don't let me forget, there's going to be a summer celebration idol competition where some lucky singer will get an opportunity to compete and open for Jill Scott.
You have some of those blue roll pipes. Are you going to say?
We are family members and staff not allowed.
Beyond focusing on the family, Christian, you're also going to be focusing on a major issue, that of autism. And what do you want people to take away from this week's events regarding the issue of autism?
I want people to be more aware about autism. I want them to understand that you can't look at a child or an adult that has autism and automatically tell. You have to be more accepting because it's a huge disorder. It's 1 in 88 now nationwide, 1 in 54 boys, and that's important. So we're going to bring in the ladies of Colored My Mind. They're national autism advocates. Tisha Campbell-Martin from TV's Martin and My Wife and Kids, D.L. Hughley's wife, LaDonna Hughley, and entertainment producer Shannon King-Nash. And they just recently took their film to Cannes Film Festival and won Best Documentary, and now they're going to premiere it here in Indianapolis during Black Expo, and we're very excited about that.
And as a mom with an autistic child, what do you want other parents to know when they encounter a family that has a child that may seem different?
I want them to know that, number one, that they're not alone and that there are lots of resources out there. So after the film, we're going to hold a panel discussion. We're going to talk about those resources. We want to be as helpful as we can, especially among the minority community.
And Vernon, this event really has become a crown jewel, not only for the city, but you were telling me also for the nation.
Absolutely. Indiana Black Expo is undoubtedly the most successful expo of its kind in the United States and the longest lasting. People come from all around, Arizona, New York, Georgia. We get information all over the country and they respond and come in town. So Indianapolis is, in a way, building ambassadors by all of these people who come in every year, have a great time, and leave talking about the city.
We will have a complete listing of all the great events for Summer Celebration coming up, of course, on our website, theindychannel.com, and on the RTV6 app. And you guys have a great week. It's going to be great.
Yes.
Thanks. Look forward to seeing you
and much success to you all.
Thank you.
Tomorrow morning, you can join me and RTV6 anchor Erica Fly and Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard for the Mayor's Breakfast to help kick off a week full of activities for the Indiana Black Expo. The mayor will be the keynote speaker as Erica and I will MC that great event. The breakfast runs from 8:30 to 10:15 with check-in beginning at 8 a.m. at the 500 Ballroom in the Indiana Convention Center. The best part, and there is always a best part, it is free. Indianapolis This Week will be right back after the break. Tomorrow, the Call 6 investigators will take you inside a restricted zone. People being given a one-way plane ticket will tell you why that's happening, why you're footing the bill, and why some people say this flight and what's happening inside a building with barbed wiring is key to public safety. Our story Monday on the news at 11. And that's it for this edition of Indianapolis This Week. Don't forget that this is day 2 of the Indiana Black Expo Film Festival. You can catch a lot of great entertainment at the Indianapolis Museum of Art's Tobias Theater from 1 to 5 this afternoon. The cost to get into the film festival, it's all free. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rafael Sanchez. You have a great Sunday.